When we look at history, y'all, I'm going to give you something. I'm going somewhere with this. When we look at history and we look at, the Moorish history, we talk about the Moors and Granada and Spain and all of these areas that the Moors established and all the fundamentals that they made so monumental, architecture and the arts and different types of clothing, the Phoenicians, and all the richness of their history. When you think of these types of people, you're thinking of monumental legacies. You're looking at names that have become renowned, not by just one generation of people, but by offspring after offspring after offspring. We're talking about generations of families where nowadays you have one or two people in a family that have made a name for a family, and then the next generation might not be able to do it. Whereas with these people, you had various branches of the family making monumental names. The dad might have made a monumental name, then the son, and then the cousin, and then the uncle, and it was flowering out in all directions. And even the Hebraic house, monumental pillars, names that reverberated through history. I'm telling you, names that we're still locked into speaking to that cycle of things. Has anybody ever thought of that? We're still speaking to the cycle of things of that group of people within that particular time frame. Whether it's the Judeo-Christian Bible, those books of the Bible are all we really speak to. There's not been another Bible written. Not one other. Out of all this time, there hasn't been one group of people. I think she has a wrong house. Hold on. Hi. I don't think that's mine. Is that DoorDash? Okay, sorry. So, getting back to what I was saying. There hasn't been anything beyond that. Whether it's the Quran, whether, like I said, the Judeo-Christian Bible, all of these books, all of these philosophies are speaking to a particular time that has come and gone. Surely, like the books of Revelation and the prophecies that those in those books would prophesy about are things that are still unfolding and showing themselves in the world. But all of those people that made the house, the name of the house, so monumental, have come and gone, friend. Yet we're still talking about them as if there's been nothing as substantial after them. Anybody thought of that? And when you think about, like I said, the Phoenicians, when you think about the Hebraic house, when you think about the Moors and all of the monumental things that they've done, the foundationary platforms that they have created, that much of life is springboarding from. We're talking about lineage, heritage, legacy. And it will come a time that the elders, the forefathers of the house that really built the house up to such substance would come and go. And their children would come into great substance because of that which their forefathers created. And these children would come into substance, but they wouldn't add any new substance to the house, friend. The children would come and they would just be born into greatness. They would be born into strong legacies. They would be born into strong names and reputations. But they would not add any new substance, strengthening the house. And this is how powerful the substance was that their forefathers left. It was so powerful and rich in substance that even though there would be generation after generation after generation of people that would come from these people and be blessed with the name and the relationship to such a monumental vine, and not put any substance, not any rich substance back into the house, the substance that was created hundreds of years before would cover them. When people spoke to the Moors, they spoke to them being somewhat conceited. You know, when you look at the Moors and you see them in their regalia, all of their clothing, the little puffy shorts and the stockings and the shoes and the hats and all of the regality and stuff like that. That's just one aspect of it. The Moorish Empire was a vast empire. Vast. You had all different kinds of them. A lot of times they distinguished themselves by dress, clothing. But one thing that was consistent with them all was a level of regality, a regal nature that was afforded to them by way of all of those monumental people that came before them and created such a powerful house. And what I'm getting to is that it will come a time where the children of the future generations wouldn't add any new substance. They'd be locked into the comforts only. They would have what it took to keep adding substance to the house, and they would. It wasn't as if they didn't add anything positive. They were blessed people. They would add positive things to the house. But some of the things that they would add would just be surface level things. Being able to dance really good. Being fashionable. Having creative gifts. A lot of them having athletic prowess. But adding substance by way of character. Honoring one another. Being solidified as a unit. Living honorably, meaning doing right by one another. They would not do that. It would get to a point where the house would become broken. Kind of like the Hebraic house. The Hebrews went through the same thing. They were no longer a solidified unit. The tribes would be all dispersed. Some sold into slavery. Some devoured by the Gentile nations because of mating. Others honoring idols. They would get overtaken by the Gentile nations because they would not be able to stay connected as a collective. every single man and every single woman would go for self. And they would all be independently powerful. The gifts God never takes away from the children. He can't renege on the gifts. They're innately there with the children. But as a collective, they would be powerless.